You're 34. The paycheck hits your account on Friday. And it feels good. For about an hour. Then it's gone. Not spent, just absorbed. Rent, car, groceries, the streaming stack you forgot you had. You glance at your savings app. The number hasn't really moved in 2 years. And something quiet inside you goes cold. This is the mistake almost nobody warns you about in your 30s. It's not flashy, and it doesn't feel like a crisis at all. It feels like normal life moving forward, which is exactly why it's so dangerous and exactly why most men miss it entirely. The mistake isn't overspending in any obvious sense. It isn't bad investing either. It's something far quieter than either of those. It's the slow, invisible drift between what you earn and what you actually build. A whole decade can get eaten alive by it. Your 30s are the decade where compounding either becomes your friend or your enemy. There is no neutral middle ground left here. And the cool part is, the damage doesn't show up in your 30s at all. It shows up in your 50s, when it's harder to fix. By then, the math has already decided things for you, quietly. The window closed while you were busy living your real daily life. You didn't fail. You just didn't notice it happening. Nobody handed you a warning letter the day you turned 30 years old. So let's name it clearly right now, out loud. The 30s money mistake is letting your income rise faster than your savings rate. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it doesn't feel like a mistake at all. It feels like progress. That's exactly the trap working. You got the raise, you upgraded the apartment, the car got nicer, the groceries got fancier, and the trips got longer too. And on paper, your life looks better than ever before. But your future life is quietly getting worse, one small comfort at a time. Because every dollar that flows into a new lifestyle is a dollar that will never compound for the next 30 or 40 years. $1,000 invested at 30 becomes roughly $16,000 by 65 at long-term historical market averages. That same $1,000 spent on a nicer couch becomes a slightly older couch eventually. That's the trade nobody actually showed you up front. Multiply that by every raise, every bonus, every "I earned this" purchase from age 30 all the way to 40 years old. Now you understand why a 45-year-old earning $200,000 a year can still feel deeply financially fragile inside. He didn't lose money in any dramatic way. He just let it pass through him. He became a hallway for cash, not a vault. And here's the part that hurts the most. Men in their 30s think they're doing fine because the checking account refills every week. Refilling is not the same thing as actually building wealth. A river refills too. It still ends up in the ocean, gone forever. The real question isn't what landed in your account this month. It's what stayed there permanently from last year's entire income. If you can't answer that in one breath, the trap already has a quiet grip on you. Don't panic about it. Just notice it. Here's the second decoding most people miss completely about this. Lifestyle inflation isn't really about luxury. It's actually about identity creep. You don't upgrade because you genuinely want stuff. You upgrade because you want to feel like the kind of man who has stuff. The new watch isn't really a watch at all. It's a signal to yourself that you finally arrived somewhere important. The arrival is the drug. Once your identity is tied to that level of spending, downsizing feels like personal failure, even when it's actually pure freedom. That's why men in their late 30s can earn double what they earned at 25 and still feel twice as financially stuck. The money didn't trap them at all. The story about who they are trapped them. The lifestyle quietly became the whole self-portrait. There's a healthier version of this, and it's worth naming clearly before we go further. Healthy money growth looks very different here. A healthy 30-something lets his savings rate rise at least as fast as his income. Ideally, a little faster every single year. He takes half of every raise and routes it straight into long-term investments before he ever sees it land in checking. The other half can go to life, to joy, to the upgrade. That's the balance most men in this decade unfortunately never strike. The trap version takes the whole raise and absorbs it into monthly expenses within 90 days, quietly, automatically, almost painlessly. You don't even decide consciously. The bigger apartment shows up, the car payment grows, the subscriptions multiply, life inflates around you. And by 40, your fixed costs are so high that saving aggressively isn't even a real choice anymore. It becomes a sacrifice. That word matters here. When saving becomes sacrifice instead of habit, you've already lost the easy part of the entire game. The easy part was always the early years, when your expenses were low and a few hundred a month could quietly change everything. Let me ask you something honestly before we go any further into this. I want you to think about it, not perform an answer. When you got your last raise, did your savings rate actually go up? Or did your lifestyle quietly absorb it within a single month? There's no shame in your answer here. Almost everyone watching this is in the same place, including men who look successful from outside. Drop a comment below and tell me where you actually are. Are you in the absorbing phase, the building phase, or somewhere in between? Your story might be the thing another guy reads at 1 in the morning, sitting at his kitchen table, staring at his accounts. That's the quiet community we're building here together. Men who finally tell the truth about money instead of performing competence online. Now let's go deeper, because the mistake has another layer most people never see until it's already too late to fully undo. The second layer is what I call the visibility gap. You spend on what you can see and ignore everything you cannot see. You can see the car. You can see the kitchen renovation. You can see the vacation photos on your phone 6 months later. You cannot see the retirement account compounding away. It's invisible. It feels theoretical. It doesn't reward you today at all. So the brain, which evolved for tigers and not tax-advantaged accounts, picks the visible reward every single time without fail. This is why even smart, disciplined men underfund their 30s so badly. It's not laziness or stupidity. It's biology versus arithmetic. And arithmetic always wins eventually in the end. It just takes 20 years to send you the final bill. That's why nobody warns you. The advanced nuance most men miss is this one. The 30s aren't actually your peak earning decade. They are your peak compounding decade. A dollar saved at 32 does roughly 3 times the work of a dollar saved at 45. Not because of you, but because of time. Every year you delay isn't just a year of missed contributions either. It's a year of missed multiplication on every single dollar after. This is why 2 men with identical lifetime incomes can retire with wildly different net worths. The early saver always wins, every time. Not because he was smarter than the other guy, not because he picked better investments, just because he gave time more rope to work. Here's the cruelest part of all this. The man who saved aggressively at 30 can actually relax a little at 50. He earns slack. The man who absorbed every raise into lifestyle at 30 has to save like a maniac at 50 just to catch the bare floor. One man feels lighter as he ages into his later years. The other feels heavier. Same income. Different decade of effort. Different pain. I know what some of you are thinking right now in your head. You're thinking, Leo, my 30s are expensive. Kids, mortgage, weddings happen. You're absolutely right about that. The 30s are genuinely the hardest financial decade for most men. The pressure is real, not imagined. But that's exactly the entire point. The mistake isn't about having money left over. It's about defending the small amount that already exists. Even $200 a month, automated from age 32 to 65, eventually becomes a meaningful piece of a real retirement. The mistake isn't that you didn't save enough back then. It's that you didn't protect the floor of what you could consistently save. Every time the floor got tested by a brand new expense, the floor moved down. That's the pattern that quietly ages you financially. The fix isn't complicated at all, honestly. It's just unglamorous, which is exactly why nobody on the internet sells it to you. Automation beats discipline. The men who win this decade decide once, set the transfer, and then stop relying on willpower entirely. Willpower is a leaky bucket always. They treat their savings rate as a fixed cost like rent. Non-negotiable, untouchable, boring, That boredom is actually the real wealth signal here. They raise that fixed cost every time their income rises, even by a tiny single percent. The raise raises the savings, not the lifestyle. If you only take one thing from this whole video, take this one. Raise the savings rate first, always first, then enjoy what's left over. Because what's left, when you do it that way, is almost always enough to live well on. The trap is believing it won't ever be enough. Here's the empowering truth your 30s deserve to hear tonight, finally. You're not behind. You're early, even if it doesn't feel that way. The average 45-year-old in this country has saved a fraction of what he thinks he should have by now. You are absolutely not alone here. The math is still firmly on your side if you start this month today, not next quarter, not after the next bonus, this actual month, now. A man who decides at 35 to redirect even a few $100s a month into long-term growth changes his entire second half forever. He doesn't become rich overnight at all, ever. He becomes free, very slowly, and freedom, compounded over decades, is the real wealth nobody talks about. You don't need a windfall to win this. You don't need a side hustle empire either. You need a small, boring, automated decision repeated for 30 years. That's it. That's the whole secret behind this entire decade. The thing nobody warned you about is also the thing nobody can ever take from you. So if this video gave you a moment of clarity or a quiet jolt of recognition somewhere inside, do me a small favor before you click away. Hit the like button below this video. It genuinely helps the channel reach other men sitting in the same chair, asking the same questions tonight. Subscribe and turn the bell on so the next one finds you automatically when it drops. We go deeper here than the usual money channels do. Drop a comment and tell me which exact part landed hardest for you. Was it the identity creep, the visibility gap, or the compounding decade? Thank you. Genuinely, deeply, sincerely thank you. Thank you for spending these minutes doing the inner work most men avoid for their entire lives. The fact that you're still here, this far into the video, tells me everything I need to know about where you are actually headed next. Next, I want to walk you through the quiet wealth threshold that changes everything in your 40s, the number most men cross without ever noticing. Because once you understand what's coming in the next decade, you'll know exactly how to use the one you're standing inside right now today.